Welcome, everybody. Has everybody here been able to set up? So we need Git, Node.js, Visual Studio Code, and then you had to run a couple commands to allow scripts to run and install Yarn. Has anybody had issues getting set up?
I have.
Was that Johan?
Yeah.
Gotcha. What's your status on it right now?
So I'm just like I am downloading Visual Studio Code right now. And I just downloaded Node.js.
Okay. So while we get everything set up, I'll have you continue. Do you want to, Mike OC? Do you want to help him if needed over text while we get started?
Sure. Yeah. So Johan, if you get stuck any place, just hit me up in the Slack, a Slack DM, and I'll help you out. I help you out on the side.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So first things first, let's clone our repository. So it's going to be here.
Jordan, will you be sharing your screen?
I forgot to share my screen. One sec. I'm recording and I didn't think to share. One sec. Screen one. I was just sitting here thinking that I was sharing the whole time. Alrighty. Can you guys see?
I have to watch stream.
Now I can see it.
Excellent. So,
how do I embiggen this so it's not like teeny tiny text?
That's why I'm like, how do I do that?
Here, let me actually. Oh no! If I change my screen, let me change my screen like scaling percentage. That might improve.
Right.
That would probably be the easiest for you.
Because I want OBS to have the same resolution because it's running currently.
Might help whatever video you're doing. Yeah.
There we go. Is this a little bit better?
A little bit.
Okay, I could increase it even further if you guys would prefer.
Let's try one notch.
Okay.
Yeah, one more. One more.
How's this?
Way better. Yeah, that's good.
Excellent. Okay. So I am going to give you guys this link. It's called Scoutradioz Tutorial Acorn. I'm going to put it into the chat. What you guys are going to want to do is clone this. So hit the green button, copy this HTTPS. There are multiple ways of doing it. I think let's just use Git GUI. So just search for Git GUI, clone existing repository, paste this into source location, and in target directory, just, I don't know, find, let's say, your documents, for example.
And just for my own silliness, you put that into the chat of the call, not the VC text channel, right?
Oh yeah, I should probably delete the VC text channel because that was, I think, I've been used to Discord not having a chat built in to voice. Here, let me.
Okay. So I see the chat in the upper right here. Stream show chat. There we go.
Restrict that channel to just.
Okay.
If we've got it all set up, can we go hit clone?
Now it's hidden. Yes, hit clone. And then once you clone that, actually, I'll do it. Actually, if your thing already exists, then like just name a new folder. Like there we go. Scoutradioz tutorial. Hit clone, and then let's see if there's a way to open it in the folder through here. Browse branch files. What does that do? No, okay. Just open it. Just open your documents, and then Scoutradioz tutorial, and then it's here. So if you right-click, or if you're on Windows 11, you might see a little button saying Show More Options. Hit Show More Options, and then you should see an Open with Code button. If you don't see that, then open a new Visual Studio Code window. You can hit File, Open Folder, and then navigate to your documents. and then Scoutradioz tutorial. Select folder, and then you should see this here. Has everybody, oh, and here, do you trust the authors of the files? You'll have to hit yes. Don't hit this checkbox because that'll automatically trust like the parent folder. And that'll enable Visual Studio Code in your whole directory. Has everybody gotten this far?
I am trying. You're going really fast.
Sure.
I think I did it. I don't. There was a part that you did with like right-clicking in the folder. I don't know what you did there.
So just right-click just anywhere. If you're running Windows, right-click anywhere here. You might have this open with code option.
Yeah.
If you don't, then you open Visual Studio Code and do what I did.
I already did the other way, so that works.
Okay,
so
cool.
I opened the folder, and I think I've got that now.
Great. And how's Johan? How are you doing with your software installation?
I'm getting there.
Okay, cool. And you've attended some of our 102 tutorials, right? So you've like kind of you remember some of what we did?
Yes.
Okay,
but
good.
I'm not on like the school computer, so I have to install everything again.
Yeah. Just as long as you remember kind of what we did, so I can kind of show the others what the code is doing while you get set up.
All right.
So now let me.
Everybody should be seeing Scoutradioz tutorial in that left-hand pane there with bin, public, routes, and views.
Yeah. Has anybody not gotten this far? Excellent. So let's. Who here is not familiar with Visual Studio Code?
Not a ton, but I know what it is. I know what it does, and I've done stuff.
Okay. Oh, and welcome, Lucian.
Do I need to update the latest? Do I need to update the latest update for this?
Not really necessary. We're not depending on any recent features or anything like that.
Yeah, okay. I just got home a meeting with our team's project manager, so I'm glad I was in enough time to get here.
Gotcha. Welcome. Have you already gone ahead and installed all the software that was mentioned in announcements?
I'm working on that right now.
Okay, great. And Tanmay, how do I pronounce your name? Tanmay?
Tanmay is fine.
Tanmay, nice. Have you gotten yourself set up too?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. Are you here right now with Visual Studio Code with your folder open?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Let's get started. So this is a kind of like a bare bones setup of how we started initially with Scoutradioz. We started with something called Express, which is like a software layer on top of Node.js that allows you to run an HTTP server, and it allows you to manage requests and responses and some data and stuff. We don't have the database in here because that's a bit like it's not really okay. Database management is important in web development, but there's a lot of stuff that we can teach that doesn't require a database. So we don't have that there, but we do have our view engine. So this is called Pug. So as like a show of hands, am I able to see based on like? Let me see if I can open your guys's. Oh no, I can see your names over here. So you know what? Let's not deal with Discord as a show of like. How can we interact with multiple people? I was going to say like react with a hand raised emote if you have or haven't used HTML. Let's see. Actually, yeah. Does everybody see the little emoji picker on here? Let's. Thumbs
up or Scoutradioz or something.
Yeah. Wait. Where did it go? It was right at the bottom. Oh, sorry. Discord is a little high. Yeah. Oops. Here we go. So yeah, react with a thumbs up if you have done anything in HTML, and react with a thumbs down if you have not.
I don't see a thumbs down, but
cool.
I'm gonna do this one.
Nice.
Because it's been too long. It was a long time ago.
Gotcha.
So kind of, but not really.
4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a sixth person that I don't see in this little mini list. One moment. I just want to make sure I can see there we go. One, two, three, four. There we go. I can see everybody. Excellent. So it seems like everybody has at least looked at HTML before. Something very important in HTML that we don't have the ability to do is reactively insert data. Like in HTML, everything is hard-coded. So if we have something, if you want the server to send a page with like your username and some information, we have to do something special to generate the HTML. So Pug is one of the infinite ways that you can actually generate HTML based on your data. There's a lot of more advanced frameworks that, for example, Voyager is using something called Svelte, which is like a reactive framework. But Pug is kind of like one step above HTML, where in this index.pug over here. Can everybody take a look? On the left-hand side, we have a views panel, and then you click it. This is the folder, I mean. And you click it, and you can see all of these files. So if you take a look at index.pug, this extends layout and block content. Those aren't actually HTML tags. These are Pug commands. But if we see h1 equals title and p welcome to title, this h1 corresponds to an h1 tag in HTML. And when we generate the HTML, the server will return an h1 with title is actually a variable. And then p, we welcome.
Stand for header one.
What was that?
Does H1 stand for like header one?
Yes, I should have mentioned that. So there's H1, H2, H3, corresponding to different headers. Instead of just looking at the code, let's actually let's run it. So let's open the terminal in VS Code. There is a view terminal, but my preference is hitting Control backtick to quickly open this. And first thing to do, type yarn, and this will and hit enter. And this will install all of the dependencies that are needed. Another step, actually you probably do this first before yarn. Go down here to the bottom left where it says master, click it. There's multiple different branches to pick from. And the, I think this was a typo, it was supposed to be December 9th. So click on origins, go on.
Where's master?
Down on the bottom left, next to the green
got
box.
it.
Yeah. So this is basically this little widget down here is showing your git status. So you click on that. We have a little branch picker. Click on origin/2024 dev 9. It's supposed to be December 9th. Click on that, and it's actually going to update the code to what we had before in the last tutorial. So this is a bit more advanced. I'm not sure if the package.json got updated. So let's just open terminal again, type yarn a second time just to make sure we have everything. So it should say success already up to date. Has everybody been able to run yarn to install all their packages?
It appears that it worked.
Cool. Anybody having trouble if you typed yarn? Did anybody after typing yarn did it not work?
I think I didn't install yarn yet, so I'm just doing that real quick.
Okay, cool. So when you type npm, does it work? Like, are you able to type npm, or does it also give you an error?
I can run npm. So
okay, cool. Yeah. So npm install global yarn, and then that install.
Should I do that as well, or is that?
No, this is just for was it
brand new installs? Got it.
Yep.
Yeah. So just for them. And yep. So once that works, yarn already installed. Now we're going to run the start script. So yarn start, and that is, oh, actually, does no do, yeah, here we go. So you should see something like this. So some yellow stuff about NoDaemon, and then it says starting ts node bin www.ts. Is it working for anybody? Anybody having issues?
It's working for me.
Excellent. Now, in your browser, open a new tab and go to localhost:3000. Hit enter. And now you're going to see this amazing mess. Everybody see it?
Yep.
Wonderful. Also, quick pause. People who,
are they going to see the whole amazing mess that you have?
Yeah, it's all hard coded.
Okay.
Does everybody see the same thing as me?
Like I'm sorry, Jordan. The code you were showing was just saying, "Hey, welcome title." So they have
I remembered we wanted to change to the code that we were at last time. So if you clicked on the branch and then changed to 2024 Dev 9, which is supposed to be December 9th, you'll see this. If you didn't, you'll just see welcome to Express or something like that. So either way, does everybody see this? Cool. So let's take a look at the HTML. We right click. It might be under developer tools, but basically inspect element or inspect or whatever to open this up. And we'll see a bunch of HTML. So this index.pug, here, let's, oh wait, oh sorry, I'm in the wrong folder, one sec. This index.pug generated this scouting form. Here, let me close my other browser so it's easier. Close this, close this. So we have HTML. What do you, what? Goodness gracious. Here, let's just, bear with me. There we go, that's better. All right, anyways, we have this HTML here. So H1 scouting form. If you go in here, you see H1 equals title. So what happened? We had a variable named title, and we populated the content of that in the H1 tag, and that becomes a header with scouting form. So where did the variable come from, you might ask? Let's go back to the code. Let's take a look at routes and index.ts. So here, I'm just going to close this. So if you hit hide panel, it's going to keep the thing running. You just won't be able to, you just won't see it anymore. You can hit control backtick or view terminal again to toggle it. We have this router.get/. In a later tutorial, we'll talk about some of the details of how this works, but now we're just going to say this code down inside of here runs before rendering the HTML. Res.render, index, and here we have the little brackets. This is JavaScript for an object, which is like a key value type of thing where you can have values based on certain names. And title equals scouting form. And then my layout is this array right here. Index.pug, here we go. H1 equals title. P, welcome to title. This is another way to insert variables. So you can, if you have a variable that is just the full string that you want to be inside your tag, you can use equals. But then you'll very frequently see this pound sign and curly brackets to insert the variable into this text. Then we have here JSON stringify my layout. That's just going to show this all the way here. And I think what would be very valuable in a future lesson, maybe next week, would be to kind of recreate what we had here. We did this in 102 sessions. It was kind of like a test run of these little tutorial walkthrough things, showing how to script, how to insert values into the Pug. And we'll definitely do this again because I think it's a very valuable lesson. But today's focus is going to be CSS. Remind me, Johan was installing some stuff. Was there anybody else in the process of installing while I was talking through?
I've just been installing this stuff from announcements.
Okay, cool. What's your status on that right now?
I'm almost have everything on. I have the Visual Studio up, and I'm pretty sure I have Git installed. I'm trying to get that booted though.
Okay, great. And Lucian, do you have any web development experience? Like, are you familiar with some HTML or JavaScript or anything like that?
Not in particular. I'm semi-experienced with Java, but I don't have much knowledge on code.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Mike OC. Do you think we should get started with the CSS or continue stalling by talking more about JavaScript and Pug and stuff like that? Or actually vote to the audience. What do you guys feel like?
I'm brand new to a lot of your software.
Mm-hmm.
I'm generally trying to kind of figure out kind of how to work my way around it. This is very helpful. I think that it kind of gives me a standpoint of how your backend works, at least for scouting forms, which is very important. I'm also of the interest, and I talked about with Mike OC about this, of really investigating and looking into adding in the trace route. But I know that you kind of have to take baby steps before you get to giant leaps. So I really am not sure, honestly, is the best way to put it, because how does CSS work into y'all's system? How does more Pug work into what y'all have developed here? And kind of more back-end explanations of what each does and how they interact would be probably helpful.
Yeah.
So the Pug, there's a lot of Pug in the Scoutradioz. I mean, except for the Voyager side, everything is Pug.
Got it.
You know, so it's lots and lots of loops and variables and some calculations and such. So, you know, I think Jordan, I was multitasking with Johan on the side. But yeah, so this was, you know, the very, 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 very beginning nugget of Scoutradioz, this idea of a loop that goes to a JSON and builds a form out of it. The CSS makes it look pretty. So the page you have right now.
Yeah. So today, really, what we're going to do is we're going to take this page right here that looks, it's just basic, and make it look pretty. Tell you what. So while we're waiting for everybody to have everything set up, let's do a little bit. Let's touch this Pug and maybe add stuff to it or change some stuff to it. Super simple one. Here, let's take this h1 equals title. And instead of doing h1 equals, let's actually let's make something that's equivalent, but using this bracket. I don't remember what it's called. I mean, this pound sign insert. So what we do, we change this h1 equals. You see here, if we don't change anything and we hit save, h1 space title, let me go back here and refresh. We're just going to see title because it went from evaluating a variable name to just evaluating the text. Does that make sense to everybody?
So the colon basically pulled a reference.
Well, actually, the equals.
The equals, but yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry. And I will say that, yeah, even as an experienced coder, you know, any language, particularly anything JavaScript based, because it's so multi-layered. There's code that runs on the server, there's code that runs in your browser, there's code everywhere, and for making that forgetting the equals or having a backtick instead of a straight tick or whatnot can be extremely frustrating sometimes. That's part of the fun. So. Yeah, but yeah, so that missing equals means, hey, that variable is not being referenced.
Yeah, or rather, it's not referencing a variable at all, and it also.
Now, what if you do h1 space equals space?
That will also just be. Oh, actually, hold on. Let's see what happens. Equals title. Okay, so the syntax highlighting is being a little bit weird right now, but it's basically thinking it's basically the equivalent of bracket h1 bracket equals title. You can actually insert HTML into Pug, and we can see these two are exactly identical. By the way, related to the syntax highlighting, is everybody getting these colors, or does anybody have VS Code with, like, it's just white, and you can't see these colors? Because I think the syntax highlighting is vital for you to be able to understand what's happening. Anybody not seeing the colors? Excellent. Good. Okay, so we did this. We changed. So let's now wrap it in this pound sign. So we do pound sign, curly bracket, and you see this is red because we don't have a closed curly bracket. Close the curly bracket here, hit save. And now we go back to scouting form. This is exactly what we had before, but in just a slightly different way. Let's say the H1 is a little bit too big. Let's change it to an H2. Hit save. Take a look at the size. You hit refresh. It's a little bit smaller. So you can change the tags to determine what the browser interprets it as. What we're going to do soon is to change the styling. Or actually, here, let's change the styling now. Before adding a style sheet. Did you say something, Mr. D?
No.
Okay. Before adding style sheet, let's just put the style directly. It's called inline. So right after the H2, don't put a space before it. Put regular parentheses. Do style equals, and then a quotation mark. So VS Code should also automatically close the quotation mark. So you should H2 open parenthesis style equals, and then two double quotes, and then a close bracket and close parentheses. Inside of the quotation marks, let's set the color. Color equals red. Hit save. Refresh. What happened? I had forgotten the correct color attribute. If we see, it did actually update. But then over here in the browser, we see styles. And what's this? We don't see anything. Because... Oh, I also used the wrong syntax. It was supposed to be color colon. My bad. Color colon space red. We refresh. There we go. I actually, I was thinking, wait a second, no, it's the correct style is font color, but it's actually not, because font, yeah, color does control the text color. If we want the background, you can do that. By the way, this over here, this is like the dev tools. Any changes you make here are not permanent. Like if you hit refresh, it'll stay here. This is very helpful for prototyping stuff, but again, if you hit refresh, it's going to go away. Let's see, what else might we want to change? Let's try increasing the size. So after color colon red, we hit a semicolon, and then let's try font dash size colon 2em. You can add a semicolon here optionally. It just ends the line. Hit save, we refresh. Now it's a little bit larger. And if we in the dev tools click on this H2 and then look at the styles, we can actually open this and we can like increase it, decrease it, anything like that. So this is kind of the basics of some of the styling you can do. And if it's 0, it's nothing. Yeah. How are you guys doing with installation?
Not installation, but struggling with the coding port.
Yeah, sure.
Getting the coloring, I guess. I just need to see your code again to understand what's happening.
Yeah, here.
The back and forth is kind of thrown off. But it's okay.
My apologies.
We'll get there.
I could
actually,
I could keep this up on one half of my screen and then have this open on the other half. Would that help?
A little bit, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work.
Let's also hide this. So hide that.
Okay, got it.
Control Shift B, and then hide that. Wait, no, that didn't do anything. Can I hit this?
It's throwing me off because I changed it that way, I think, but it's not coming through like that. Maybe I'm missing something on the second part. Oh,
yeah, do you want to share your screen?
I might have it though. Hold on.
Okay.
No, that's what is it? No title.
Tenmei is saying he'd rather learn about Pug. You know what we could do, because we wanted Annalise wanted to do the CSS. Why don't we put it to a vote? Who wants to learn about Pug today and who wants to learn about CSS today? Raise your or reply with a thumbs up, or react with a thumbs up if you'd like to actually learn about Pug and kind of do what we did in the previous 102 session. Yeah, react now.
How do you raise your hand? Thumbs up.
Okay. So I got 3 thumbs up, and react with something else with if you want to stick with doing CSS today.
Okay, so what we're doing right now is CSS.
what we were planning, yeah. So what this coloring
Tiling
was
just
CSS.
yeah.
Got it. That's what's throwing me off.
I think we have enough. We do have a. It sounds like there's a groundswell for Pug, and if we could hold this off for Annalise, I think that would work. So
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Lucian, what's your thoughts? Because I didn't get a reaction from you. Would you prefer to learn Pug and kind of recreate what we were doing here, or styling?
I'm fine with Pug. I prefer to learn Pug right
Cool.
now.
Yeah. So let's do that. So let's actually reset what we have here. I'm going to go back to the code as it was before, and I'll help you guys with actually creating this. So back down here where you clicked on master, click here again and see 24 dev 9, and then just pick the master branch again. Your local change would be over by checkout. I'm just going to hit force checkout to just discard all of the changes that I've made. So if you've made changes, you can do that too. And you can discard these changes. There you go. Welcome to.
It did not do anything for me, but I will try again.
Were you seeing all of that really big Pug? Like on index.pug, are you seeing welcome to title, or are you seeing like all of the other stuff that I had before?
I'm lost. I'm sorry.
Want to share your screen for a sec?
I will try.
So Jordan, why don't you open up the file system thing on your left, so people can see. So inside that file system under views is index.pug. And so if you double click that, then the tab opens up in the editor.
Here we go. I can see your stream. Yes. Okay. So close that tab. Close index.pug. Here, actually, let me just open this so that the recording can see it.
Save.
Yeah. Hit close. Or yeah, there you go. And now, oh wait a second, you're on master right now. What?
I know. That's why I'm thrown off. I don't know. I was trying to save it and show the red, but it was not showing that either. So
oh, hang on.
I will
so click on index.pug again. Oh.
Okay, now we're good.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So you're waiting on?
What probably happened was you had unsaved changes in VS Code, and then.
So these are all like versions of it.
Yeah. So these are branches, and so there's all different, like a different snapshot of the repository. So what happened was that VS Code had that tab open, and then in the background it detected that the file changed, and so to avoid losing your data, it kept what you had before. So then the act of closing it was able to like reset basically the contents of the file.
Gotcha. Okay.
Alrighty. And so if I refresh this browser here, we'll just see welcome to Express. So is everybody here now? We kind of erased all those extra changes, and now we just have this. Is everybody else here?
Trying.
Cool.
Yep.
So Mr. D, so also if you does everybody else also have the localhost 3000, and when you load it, does it also go to welcome to Express?
I will double check that.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep.
Let's wait for. Okay, you're good. Excellent. So now what's next? Oh, also because I see that. Wait, never mind. I was gonna ask if you guys are still able to see my screen when Mr. D's sharing, but I understand you can actually like full screen an individual person, so we're good. I'm used to Microsoft Teams now, where only one person can share, and it's a little weird, but I know Discord allows you to maximize one person. So let's take a look at index.pug and index.ts. So we alluded earlier what was happening. We have res.render index title equal, and this actually changed to Express. And we also have this layout. So one of the very first things that we did in the earlier tutorial is say, hey, this is a scouting form. It's not Express. And what do we do to change this from Express to something else? But you've already seen a hint of it. We go on here. We have this title in quotes. We have title, and then we have Express in quotes. And we'll see what happens when we change it. Change this to something. Hit save. Hit refresh. Now it changes. Why is that? Because we're using variables. That is the value of variables. Did that make sense to everybody? Or is anybody a little confused about that?
No, just let me try it.
Sure.
It's not updating for me. I don't know what I need to do to like.
So, did you hit save on index.ts?
That might be what I need to do, and I don't know where that is.
You can hit Control S is what I usually do.
Yeah, file save or Control S is what I do.
You'll see a little white dot. There'll be a little white dot on the tab if you've made an edit and you haven't saved it. So Jordan, like make a change, but don't save it yet.
Let me try that again.
See a little white dot appear? That means that you've got unsaved changes.
I see it now, and then that white dot is there. Then you do Control S.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Cool. Let me try now. Reset. Okay. Perfect. It works. That was what was causing me the problems last time.
Ah, gotcha. Yep. There you go.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. There also is a feature that lets you autosave as you change, but I'm personally not a fan of that. Also, since we have a script running that automatically restarts every time you make a change to a file, it'll be restarting a lot if it saves while you type. So I would not personally recommend doing that.
Okay.
So, what else are we going to do with these variables? What's up?
There's just some echo, Jordan.
Okay.
So some. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. Let me turn down. Yeah, that's right. What else are we going to do with this? Now we have res.render index, and we have two variables that are being passed. We have title, and then we have my layout. So what are we going to do with my layout? Let's try and insert it into the HTML. So let's make a new line. So Pug is very very persnickety about tabbing. So we've got to make sure that if we want something to be next to, or in this case below, the paragraph, so the P stands for paragraph, by the way, we want it to be tabbed in the same way as you do. So let's add another P, and let's try and just put my layout into it. We're going to want to print it. So P equals, and then a space, my layout. Be careful that it's cap sensitive. So in this case, it's lowercase the word my, and then capital L, and the word layout. Hit save, and then refresh. What happened? What's this? Object, 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 object. What in the world?
Let's make sure people get to that.
I'm going to explain it, and then, or wait, I'll explain after. Make sure that everybody's good. Has anybody seen? Does anybody get like an error saying Pug, like giving you an error about mixed spaces and tabs? Because that's something that you might see if your Visual Studio Code settings are a little bit off.
It's not giving me. I'm just seeing the object. Whatever thing.
Okay, good. Does anybody doesn't see this yet?
I do have one quick question.
Sure.
Does the P basically say next line? Is that just kind of a reference for saying, oh, next line?
You can think of it that way, but really,
never always that simple.
Yeah. You can think of it that way. It's a separate paragraph, let's say. So P is short for paragraph, and this is for when you're having like an article with multiple paragraphs. If we change it, for example, to a span, these are going to show next to each other, because spans, those elements by default are inline, which means they don't actually force themselves to have their own space. So the paragraphs are what are called blocks, which essentially are like, hey, I am my own object, I want my own line. And then the P itself by default adds margin. So, paragraph. Did that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Cool. Now, what's the deal with this object stuff? When you are printing objects and arrays and stuff like that in JavaScript, by default, it'll just make this mess. And really, what's happening here, what's happening under the hood in Pug, is it's taking this this variable my layout and turning it into a string of characters, and then printing it. And in this case, when we have an object, it just goes weird. So how do we actually get the contents? let's change it to JSON.stringify. So all caps, JSON, that's for JavaScript object notation, dot stringify, parentheses, this is a function, pass my layout. Hit save, hit refresh, and now we actually see what we want. That's just a thing you'll see a lot of the time in JavaScript. If you're seeing object, blah, 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 change it to JSON.stringify, and it's going to actually go through the entire thing and then print out everything. Is everybody on the same page now? Does it make sense?
I might ask you later a little bit about JSON, a little elaboration, but I think we're good.
How's everybody else? Johan and Lucien, how are you doing with the install? Have you been able to follow along?
Yeah, I'm following along currently.
Great.
Johan and I are battling with NPM and Yarn being in the path.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. All
It's
right.
not
I think I have it,
the
actually.
title anymore, but I think I typed it in wrong or something.
You said it's not showing the title anymore?
Yeah, I did JSON.stringify, but it's
Did you try and JSON.stringify the title? Or did you change the first paragraph to JSON stringify?
I
Like
didn't. Oh, I missed that. I guess. Let me try that.
Yeah, so I added a new paragraph here. But you can also, you can do anything you like here, but that's just what I did up here. Let's continue. So because this is taking up a lot of space, and we can either comment this out. Quick pro tip: VS Code, if you hit Control/, that's a shortcut to toggle whether something's commented out. Very useful, but not strictly necessary for this. Let's open a new line actually above this JSON stringify, and actually no, let's I'm just gonna comment it out for simplicity.
All right, Jordan, brief interruption. So I think Johan's gotten to where Yarn's working. Does he just type yarn start?
First type yarn so that it installs everything, and then type yarn start.
Okie doke.
Yep. So I've commented this out. We can keep it for later. And then below, let's try and loop through all of these items. So we see here, this is back in index.ts. We have const my layout equals, and then this square bracket represents an array, which is just a list of items. And then so we have type h2, label equals autonomous, type checkbox, label equals blah, 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 blah. And so how are we going to print all of them? This is where something like Pug really shines. We can loop. So let's type each item in layout. I believe that's the syntax. And so press enter and then tab. So basically this is going to be the loop, and then inside of this, meaning press enter and then tab in, anything inside of here is going to be printed once per item. So let's just, as a little test, because I love iterative development, let's just put like p and then just like hello and see what happens. Save, hit refresh, and whoops. Let me actually just double check Pug. Never.
And that's a common thing you're going to see when your Pug has a syntax error and the server tries to read the Pug and interpret it. It says and then it barfs out this big stack trace.
Yeah. Never feel afraid to just look at the documentation. Each val in. Oh, I made a mistake. I typed layout instead of my layout. My layout with a capital L. Hit save, hit refresh, and now we see hello, 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 hello. And this is being repeated for the number of times, the number of elements in the layout. Has everybody gotten hello, 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 or whatever you've typed down?
Yeah, I'm getting syntax errors every time I try to save it.
Okay, so is it saying something about mixed spaces and tabs? Or is it saying something
No,
else?
it says see users, my OneDrive document, Scoutradioz repository. Only name blocks and mixins can appear at the top level of extending template.
Is the each like this? Is it at the start of the line, or is it tabbed in next, like at the same indentation as the P?
You look. No, everything is not tabbed over, so I guess I need to tab everything over.
Yeah, so you have extends layout and block content at the very left, and then anything below block content you want to tab in once.
Try that now.
So what's happening behind the scenes is there's another file called layout.
Now I got
It
another
has-
error, but not giving me a good anything.
Share your screen.
Right, so
I think it's the comment, because the comment's orange on my screen, not green.
Is it a double slash or something else?
It's a double slash.
Yeah, that's fine.
Am I supposed to do something else?
So basically the in pug // dash does not actually turn into HTML comment. If it's orange, that means it actually turns into an HTML comment, so it stays here. So if it's orange, that's fine.
I didn't know the dash dash slash. I didn't know that was, or slash slash dash. I didn't know that was what I was supposed to do. Please.
Yeah.
I missed that dash. Syntax, but it's still giving me an error. You know what? Y'all keep going.
wait, but this is useful. Let's take a look at your screen.
All right.
I learn more from my mistakes than when it works
No,
right.
I know. I don't want to hold y'all up.
No, you're good. Expected indent, but got new line. Okay, go back to your code.
Yeah.
Oh, can you open the code in the same... Oh, you're sharing your browser. Could you change to sharing your screen?
I will try.
Thanks. So it goes from, like, I think the default when you're sharing is share a window. But then you can switch to sharing an entire screen.
Let me see if I can do this.
Oh, so while I'm looking at your code, by the way, the P hello should be indented.
Yeah.
So if you look back at Jordan, if we look back at Jordan's screen.
I think I got it.
Okay.
Yep, here we go. Yeah. So go back to your code.
Go back to your VS Code.
Yeah. Oh, I think you click on that caret there that you yeah, there you go.
How did that there?
I think you clicked on something to collapse the...
Yeah, so open that. Yeah, click that once.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
See, that P hello should be indented.
That way?
Yep. There you go.
Because basically, the way Pug and Python and things like that work is the indentations kind of indicate, hey, I'm going to be wrapped up inside the thing at a higher level.
That makes sense. I didn't even know that existed. I couldn't even see that.
No problem.
I didn't even see that. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is everybody else here?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. So now let's actually include some of the content. So instead of doing JSON.stringify my layout, let's just JSON.stringify this item. So each item in my layout, this is kind of equivalent to, for example, if you know JavaScript, for let item in layout. And then this code executes, and then item is the variable name. Oh, sorry, it should be my layout.
Yeah, I was going to say my layout.
And then the item is the variable name assigned to this thing and that thing and that thing. So P equals, do the same thing, JSON.stringify item. Save, hit refresh, and now we have all these items. Pause to make sure everybody's on the same page. And now what do we do? Where do we go from here? This is now the time to actually generate different HTML depending on what type of item it is. So over here we have type equals h2, type equals checkbox, type equals h3, type equals counter. And so we're going to actually want to generate different types of HTML depending on what element it is. So let's start with the simplest, h2. Not a trick question. It should be an easy question. What type of HTML element do we want to use for an h2? Anybody answer?
H2.
There we go, bingo. So here, let's do a new line either above or below the P. It doesn't matter as long as it's tabbed in at the same indentation as the P. H2 equals, and then what are we going to fill it with? Well, we see over here we actually have this type Oh, excuse me. I forgot to show you guys something because you know what? Here, yeah, let's go. I believe everything, most things have a label, but let's see what we do. H2 equals item dot label. Hit save. This is going to be something weird. Here we go. What? Why is everything in H2? Well, we didn't do a conditional. We didn't actually first check to see what type the element is before just saying, oh, hey, I'm just going to print an H2 with the label, because we might have an H3, we might have some checkboxes. So we don't actually want to do the same HTML every time. So, Mike, do you remember if we did a case or if we did if for the... You know what? Let's do both. Okay. So over here, instead of this H2, let's delete that line. Let's do if item dot type. So this notation, the dot, is a way of accessing a property. It's very, very common in JavaScript. So item dot type means I'm reading this string right here. If item dot type equals, and then in quotes, H2, and then inside of here, tab, and then enter, because this is the content of the if, H2 equals item dot label. Hit save, refresh, and now you guys should only see these H2, teleop, endgame, etc. Is everybody here?
I think. All right.
I'll wait till I get a couple thumbs up or something.
I had a question on the JSON.stringify. Is that what's pulling the autonomous to teleop everything that's like pre-built? Is that like its own little like repository of like data that's already been created for everything?
So the function JSON.stringify is a built-in function, but this data here is inside index.ts. It's just hard-coded. Instead, so normally it would be pulled from the database, but this is just like our little starter piece of data. And this is all being saved in the variable myLayout. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. So the myLayout is what's pulling the autonomous to teleop everything that's pre-built, and that is found in the index.ts.
Yes.
Understood. Now I get it. Okay.
Cool.
Baby steps.
And now let's do another simple one.
Let me just interrupt briefly. So that pattern you're going to see a lot all over Scoutradioz, that there's one file that's a TS file that does a lot of like, hey, I'm collecting data from the database, I'm going to like transform or do some things to the data. And then we're going to call this render function, which we'll call a pug, and the pug does all the, hey, I'm going to like display it and do mostly like, you know, generate HTML and maybe some JavaScript and stuff.
I'm getting it. So the index.ts is the behind the scenes, like this is the functionality of the actual web page, and the pug is what displays it in something that people can go to.
Yes,
yeah,
in a way, yeah.
The pug's like the middle of the sandwich, because the top of the sandwich is your browser, and the bottom of the sandwich, the bottom is that index.ts, and below that, the plate would be the database.
Now I get it.
So let's move on to another simple element, type equals spacer. So down here, let's add an else if. Else if item dot type equal. I didn't mention this, but equal is to check for equality. There's also triple equals. Not going to get into that today. JavaScript is a little weird. Item dot type equals.
JavaScript is a lot weird.
Yeah. Spacer. Next tab. Hit enter. Hit tab. And so this element that we're going to do is gonna be HR. That's short for horizontal rule. That's just a built-in HTML element. Hit save. Refresh. Now we have this little horizontal rule that's just between our different elements of the scouting form. Now what do we want to add? Let's try an H3. This is going to be a slightly smaller header. So maybe let's do it above the H2, below the H2, above the spacer. This again, else if item.type equal H3. We're seeing this is very verbose. We're doing a lot of ifs, else ifs, and it's a little bit cumbersome. I'll show you how to do it a little bit more.
But repetitive is not bad. It's just you have to get used to what it is for the repetition.
Yes, but I'm saying that there is another syntax that makes it a lot easier
Knowing
in
the
cases like
syntax
this.
of everything is what it
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
like. Just understanding it, what each thing is, like HR, I wouldn't know what the heck that is.
Oh yeah, and that's where I'm just going to tell you exactly. But I'm basically kind of hinting at certain things as we're going through iteration of here's how we do it better. So let's pause here.
Is there a book that we could like find, purchase online that has like a list of all these repositories that we could like just glean at, look up, or search up, or whatever? Or is there a website that would
There is
do
an
the same
excellent
thing?
website. So firstly, there is W3 Schools and Codecademy have very nice tutorials, like just basic tutorials on stuff. If you want a reference for anything, I always just Google MDN, short for Mozilla Developer. Oh, you see all of my searches, and then space, and then whatever you want, like horizontal rule. Search for that. Find, here we go, Mozilla Developer, the HR, the thematic break horizontal rule element, and you see every information you need to know about this particular thing. So this, I consult MDM Web Docs the most because it gives you everything you need to know about a particular item. But if you want some basics tutorials, I believe, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I just dropped in the chat
excellent
a link to the wiki, the Scoutradioz wiki. We've got a page on a whole slew of Code Academy free classes.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I did go and I've been perusing your wiki. I haven't looked at everything yet, but I've been looking through it a bit and trying to read through it and make sense of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
All right. Now I'm going to call on somebody. Michael, tell me, when I want to add an H3 inside of this if, what do I write? How do I put the H3 to display instead of an H2?
H3 equals item label?
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Or item dot label.
Oops. Item dot label. Perfect. Hit save, hit refresh. Now we have it here. Well done. Now you see all this if, else if, else if. This is a bit cumbersome. I'm going to show you a very nice syntax. This, if you're familiar with JavaScript, there's a switch statement, and that's also true in Java and like probably C, I'm not sure. We have something very similar in Pug. So if we're just checking a certain variable and seeing what values it can do and doing different code depending on its value, we have a case. So case item.type. I'm just putting this above. We're going to discard this for now. Case item.type. Hit enter, hit tab, and then if I recall correctly, it's when. Let me just double check because case. Here you go. Case blah blah blah. When 0, when 1 default. So let's translate this code into this. So first line, when H2, again, H2 is in quotes, hit enter, tab in, and let's just copy this, or just, cut this code. There you go, cut and paste. When H2 equals item.label. Hit enter, hit backspace, make sure the whens are in the same line. The same column, I guess you call it, the same indentation. When H3, enter, tab, let's just cut this. When spacer, horizontal rule. And now let's do something a little bit different. Right now on the bottom, we just had JSON stringify the item every time, but what if we want to make it so that the item, the JSON stringify item only shows when we don't have a case, when it's something we haven't written custom code for yet? Somebody tell me what I can write to do that. Consulting the documentation.
You got it? Did somebody come off mute there to answer?
Default.
There we go, perfect. Default. And now we hit enter the same way. Let's just cut this p equals JSON stringify item. There we go, and we can erase this code. Now again, just make sure the tabbing is correct. So each item in my layout, and then underneath and indented once we have case item.type. This is declaring your switch statement. and then indented every time when H2, and then indent again, label, when, indent again, when, indent again, default, indent again. And if you did it all correctly, let's go back to our tab, hit refresh. And now we don't see this H2 like JSON anymore. We just see the ones that we haven't implemented. Does everybody see the same?
Yep.
Excellent.
I think so.
Does anybody have any questions? Because I know this was a lot right now.
I'm figuring it out. We'll get there.
All right, Jordan, I just want to like set expectations. So for us East Coast folks, 10 o'clock is probably when we all turn to pumpkins. So you got about another 25 minutes.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
That's in Texas. Sleep? What sleep?
Yeah. I mean, we can still, anybody who...
I'm fine. It's good. You're good. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm actually enjoying this, and I didn't expect I would enjoy code.
Awesome. And also, I mean, people feel free to drop off whenever you like, and we'll post the recording for anybody who couldn't make it the whole way. So, yeah, like Mike OC, if you want to leave, I can definitely handle things.
Sure, but I'm also just want to be mindful of some of our students.
Oh, yes.
Who might have early classes tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, and that's okay. Yeah, if
Do
anybody...
you mind if I ask you a few questions before y'all fully leave? Because I have a few questions on my...
So why don't we so let's give it another 15 minutes of just let's do checkbox.
No, yeah, go for it. No, just after everything's done.
Yeah,
and then we can answer some questions.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So let's add a checkbox. Now, first one, I'll ask the class. What do I do here to detect when something's a checkbox? Lucian, what code do I write? I'm not asking you how to make the checkbox. I'll show you, but I'm just quizzing you on how to detect if it's a checkbox.
I have no clue. I'm not really experienced with code at all. Sorry.
So if you look at the screen, we've got when H2,
Yeah.
we do some things, when H3, when spacer. So what's next if we want to do a checkbox?
Yeah. How are we going to display this? We have these guys. We have type equals counter, type equals bad counter, type equals checkbox.
Oh, could it be type equals checkbox?
Basically, yeah, when checkbox.
Yeah.
Yep.
When checkbox. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. And no worries. Now enter again, tab in again. And now here's how you actually make a checkbox. Let's type input and then in parentheses type equals and quotation marks checkbox. Again, this type is different from this type. This is an attribute to our custom data. This is actually like telling the HTML, hey, I'm a checkbox. Okay. And now next to it, so
you can save that. You can save that and run that.
Yeah, let's save and run. And now the other stuff goes away. We just have a little checkbox right here. So how do we add some text to it? That's where the label element comes in. So by next to it, I mean like
Be like a comma
enter.
and then another thing. No, oh, down.
Yeah,
below.
hit enter, and so right below it on a new line, let's do label equals,
Oh, okay.
and then in this case again, similar to the other guys, item dot label. Hit save, refresh. Now we have this. Did
Do
they
you need that space in front of item.label?
What was that?
Like, do you need a space in front of item.label, or would that be fine if it was right next to it? What I'm asking is, would it cause an error if it was equals item.label all one word, or if there was a space there?
It looks like it's fine as long as there's no space between the first the HTML element and the equals. So it looks like it's fine either way. But I guess as a common practice or like code cleanliness, we just say consistent.
No, that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. So now we have a check. Excuse me, my insulin pump is being annoying. It's just been. You guys might not be able to hear it because of my because the noise canceling, but it kept bothering me. Anyways.
Oh, that's awesome.
So if you've spent any time, browsing any website, you'll know that like you'll probably have an instinct to click on the text to click the checkbox, but we'll notice here nothing's happening. Now, why is that? HTML and actually I'll actually deal with the checkbox clicking in a moment. Let's scroll down here. We see these guys are all like all together. These two next to each other, and there's like defended blah blah. These are all kind of on the same line. This is something I alluded to earlier when I showed you what would happen if I changed the paragraphs to spans. This is because checkboxes by default are inline. They don't actually grab their own line. So let's fix this first.
Mr. D, did you have a question there?
What?
I thought somebody had a question. Okay, sorry.
Okay. So let's fix this line item first to make sure that they're all in their own unique line. The simplest solution is to like wrap them in a div. So a div just is short for divider element. You'll see divs everywhere in HTML. So on the same line as where these are, let's type div. But in order to put these stuff into the div, we actually have to tab both of these guys in. So highlight both of the lines and hit tab. And VS Code will indent both of them. So we have a div, and then inside input type was checkbox, label equals item.label. Hit save, hit refresh. Now they have their own line. If we take a look, there's this little element picker up here. Click on this and then go down. We'll see p div. Click on this arrow, and we'll see these guys inside. So it's a little bit different from this code, each item and layout, case item type, because like we don't actually have an element called each item in layout. This is triggering code, but in this case here, we actually have the indentation is indicating that these HTML elements are going inside of the div. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, it's almost like a table of contents. Like, you know, if this was some sort of crazy table of contents and we got to something called when checkbox, inside that chapter would be one section called div, and inside the div section would be two subsections called input and label. Whereas if div, input, and label were all in the same vertical row, we read that table of contents, they'd all be within the when checkbox chapter.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. So yeah, now that we, or is everybody here? Everybody managed to get everything in the div without any errors?
Nope, no errors.
Awesome. Now let's take care of this thing where you click on the text and it doesn't actually check the checkbox. What happens here is that when you click on a label, specifically a label element, that's actually these are 4 inputs. The browser will actually check to see if the label is tied to the input. So that's using the for attribute. So before the equals on the label, let's open parentheses, and for equals, and then it searches for an input with the appropriate ID. So let's put in parentheses like my checkbox, for example. And then in the input, I have to do ID equals my checkbox. So now this for and this ID, they match. So let's save, let's hit refresh, and take a look at this very first one. Click on this. You see it actually checks. Great, right? Not exactly. Because now all of these inputs and all of these labels have the same ID. All of these inputs have the same ID. All the labels have the same for. So if I scroll down and hit this one, it actually scrolls up to the top and then clicks this input element. Because what the browser is doing is it thinking, oh, okay, I click this label, so I'm going to hover over this. This label is for equals my checkbox, and then it searches for the first element that's named my checkbox, and then checks that checkbox.
That has the ID of my checkbox,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So quizzing the class, let's go back to this tab and look at, where's our first checkbox? Here's our first checkbox, and I'm going to maximize this. Quiz the class. Tenmei, how can we get a unique identifier from this data?
So we have an ID attribute, so we can just like do something like item.id in this case, because each row would be its own item.
Very well done. Exactly. Very good. So let's go back to index.pug. And instead of ID equals my checkbox, change that to, and make sure to not put this into quotes. So if we do ID equals and then in quotes, item.checkbox, it's just going to think it's just the string item.checkbox. Whenever it's in like orange, that's basically like a string. So we want to make sure it's blue, like a variable. So ID equals item.checkbox, and then change this to item.checkbox. Sorry, my bad. Item.id. My bad. Item.id. Hit save. Hit refresh. This one works. Moment of truth. Go down. This one works. This one works. This one works. If we take a look at the HTML, it correctly populated ID equals in-game spotlet, for equals in-game spotlet, etc. Has everybody gotten this? Are the checkbox working?
I'm not quite sure what I'm doing the code, but I'm missing what you're trying to accomplish, like what you are achieving. Like, are you clicking the text and trying to get it to where it does the checkbox, or what?
Exactly, yeah. We want to, since this is a very, very common feature of forms, where if you click on the text, it actually updates the checkbox. We are aiming to make it so that anytime you click a particular item, any particular checkbox, like, sorry, if you click the text associated with the checkbox, it actually clicks the correct checkbox. And the way to do that is to have each of them have a unique identifier.
And that's a common HTML thing to give gazillions of things in the page each their own unique ID, so you can target them like this with either.
And it worked for me. I didn't put item.id. I think I put down item.checkbox. I apologize, but it works now.
Excellent. Yeah, I told you the wrong one. My bad. I was just
You're good.
Freudian
You're good.
slip.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine.
All right. So let's see. We have counter. We have bad counter that are left. We have sliders. Those are a little complex. We also have text blocks. Those are actually a little bit simple. We could add a text blocks at the bottom. Text block at the bottom.
How many characters is it allowed, or can you specify that?
By default, text blocks allow any number of characters. I'm not sure. Actually, let's find out. Area character limit. I think you might have to enforce it in max length. Yeah. So there is actually a way to specify a maximum length, but we don't do it in Scoutradioz. Might be a good idea though. Maximize.
Yeah, because if somebody wants to paste War and Peace in there, that could be an issue.
Yeah. So that might be useful. Anyways, let's do that. So let's add this other notes at the bottom. So I've already quizzed the class on this a couple times. I'm sure you are familiar. Let's add add when text block. Enter, and then similar to the other input elements, let's add it in its own div, just to keep it in its own line. Now, instead of input type equals text block, it's going to be just text area. Let's not add the ID yet because we don't really need it. Hit refresh, go down, and here it is, text area. That one's pretty simple. Let's add the ID for good measure, because in this case it's not needed for this demonstration, but once you actually submit the form, you have to make sure the thing processing the form needs to know what ID each input element is. So we just do ID equals item.id. But what's missing? We actually forgot, down here we have a little label, other comments and notes, but we don't have the label here. So we could add a label, we could add a paragraph element. In this case, it doesn't really matter. Let's just do a label for good measure. Label equals item.label. And here we go. Other comments and notes, and we got the text area. Boom, 1 down. Sorry, now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, and there's only 3 to go. There's counter and bad counter, but they're basically the same. Do you guys want us to keep going and add counters?
Yep. Unless no time, but I'm good with it.
We got 10 more minutes till the East Coasters have to go, but I can go till any time, so we can keep going and going. So let's do it. Let's add counters and bad counters. So down here, add another one. When counter. Let's ignore the bad counters for now. This is like a very this is a relic of very old Scout radios where we started with counters, but we wanted to indicate based on the color of a thing that, like for example, tracking misses.
Yeah, misses or fouls or something.
Yeah.
Want to have it look different.
Yeah.
And this is me, by the way, because if it's dumb in Scout radios, was probably me. All the good stuff's written by the students in Jordan. So
that's okay.
That's what happens when mentors get involved.
Well, hey, I'm a mentor now.
True.
Yeah.
Still all me though. If it's dumb, if it looks good, it's Jordan. If it's dumb, it's me.
Yeah. So type counter. So where do we start from here? There's actually no counter element really. We have to create it kind of from scratch. The one thing we can start with is like a number element. We have input type equals checkbox. We could actually do input type equals number. So let's do that. Div input type equals number. And for good measure, let's keep doing the IDs. And now what do we see? We have a blank input. And now what else do we need for a counter? That's the class. What do we need? Or if you remember Scout radios, what does Scout radios have for their counters? Michael, what do we got to add?
The plus and minus.
There we go. Perfect. So thank you. And HTML actually has some buttons. Sorry, it has a button element. So let's just right next to it, add button. And then we'll do the actual functionality later, but let's just make it a minus button plus. Hit save, refresh. Now we have the plus and minus buttons, but they don't do anything. Well, let's do that in a little bit. Oh, actually, well here, like there's technically this up here that's built into HTML, but we might be able to hide this later. There's one last missing thing that we're missing. I said missing twice, my bad. What else are we missing? Johan? What last thing are we missing?
I forgot.
Yeah, it's okay. Does anybody else answer? There's one last element that most of our other ones have that we haven't added yet for the counter.
Label.
There we go. Perfect. Exactly. So in this case, we're not going to worry about the exact positioning. It could be above, it could be below. We'll also handle that with CSS. We'll decide exactly how we want our things to look later. But for this case, let's just label equals item.label. In this case, we don't need 4 equals because it's not a checkbox. Hit save, and now we have all the elements necessary, and now let's actually add some functionality.
I'm just going to take this moment to say, nice to meet everybody, but I got to drop off because I have a very early day tomorrow. Jordan, you keep at it. You're in good hands, folks. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Small.
Thanks,
Okay.
Mike. Whoops. I'm just checking something really quick on my other tab because there are many different ways of adding adding functionality to to button clicks. I was just checking to see how we did it this time. Yeah. Okay. Just checking to see how it was implemented. Yeah. There's infinite different possibilities, but the one that I picked was what I thought was the potentially the simplest case with the on-click handlers. So let's start by creating a script. This is going to be different from the scripts that are here, like this TypeScript / JavaScript. This is running on the server, but we're going to add a script that runs in the browser itself. Now, right at the bottom, let's tab in once to make sure that it's inside of this block content, but below everything else, type script, and then a period. That period is to indicate that it's like a many lines. Enter again, tab in, so we should see script, tabbed once, and inside of here, tabbed in twice. And for the time being, let's just add a console log to say hello, to see code running in the browser. So we'll do console.log, and then quotes, hello world. Semicolons are optional in JavaScript, by the way. I just have a preference of adding semicolons. Hit refresh, and if everything is good, you'll see hello world. Again, make sure, so if you tabbed it right, and you added the dot here, you're going to see similar coloring where, console.log, so the console is blue and the log is yellow to indicate a function. Has everybody got hello world in their console?
I'm not sure where I should be looking, though.
So in your browser, open developer tools and hit inspect, and then in this tab over here you see elements, console, there's network, application, sources, performance, etc.
I see it at the bottom with the script.
That's good. Yeah. Oh yeah, I see, somewhere. I just have the console tab, but yeah, as long as you see hello world, you're good.
Funny
Everybody
story, it was messed up and somehow, I don't know what I did, but it fixed itself.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I have a different, this is probably from a Chrome extension or something. Yeah, don't worry about the errors over here. And then this also Chrome extensions. But yeah, hello world is all we need. Now,
what would that be used for, the console log?
Debugging.
Debugging?
Yeah. Pretty much for debugging, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's now handle a button click. So let's create a function inside of the script. So let's call function space, and then the name of the function, let's call it handle plus click. I'm using camel case because that's kind of usually what people use in JavaScript, but you can capitalize your function whatever way you want, as long as you're consistent with it, because JavaScript is case sensitive. So function handle plus click, and then we have parentheses here, and then add brackets. Hit enter for good code tabbing. And let's actually change the console log hello world into here. So we have function handle plus click, brackets, console.log hello world. Now if we hit refresh, it no longer says hello world. Why is that? Because this is a function, and it doesn't actually execute the code of the function until you actually call the function. Is that making sense to everybody so far? With limited programming knowledge?
Kind of, but not really.
Okay, that's fair. There's a lot of programming concepts in here. But to help make it a little bit more clear, let's actually make this.
I mean, I'll get it. I'll probably figure it out. I'll read up on it later.
Yeah, sure. Now, how do we actually tie this function to the button? There's an attribute inside the function. So right next to button, like before the space, parentheses, and now on click, one word, equals, and in quotes, handle plus click, Make sure it's capitalized the same way, and then add parentheses here. So what this does in JavaScript is it calls the function. Actually, before we do this, over here in the console, let's actually just call the function manually. Handle plus click. We see it's auto-populated because it's actually a function that's defined in the browser. Hit this. If we hit enter without the parentheses, it's just going to print the function. It doesn't really help. If we, well, it does help sometimes, but if you put a parentheses and then hit enter, it says hello world. Because the function was defined and it's available in the browser, but it isn't called unless you call it, and then it initiates, it executes the code that's contained within the function. And basically, this was just done manually in the console. Again, very useful to have when you're debugging stuff in the browser. But the way to actually do it as the result of a button click is this: on click equals handle plus click. Hit refresh. And now, hello world, hello world, hello, 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 hello. Actually, if you do it a lot of times, I think it's going to combine itself. Or I guess not. Sometimes Chrome will like combine similar looking messages. But yeah, is everybody here so far? When you click any of the plus buttons, it'll actually print hello world. I got a thumbs up. Everybody, okay.
Getting there.
No no's, but yeah, cool. Now, how do we actually adjust the content of the input, the number input? There's also a million different ways of doing this. As one example, I will show you, but I'm not expecting you to copy. Actually, wait, hold on. Actually, no, that won't work. Never mind. Never mind on the example. Let's actually let's use the final the way that I did it in the other tutorial, I should say. We're going to actually see that we have this input and the ID equals over here. We're going to use a function to get that element, and then we're going to modify its value. The way to do that, inside of this function, let's create a variable. Use let I don't know, input element equals, and then this is the function that we use, document dot get element by ID. And you can preview, like for example, document over here dot get element by ID. And it actually pre-populates. And then if we grab, let's say, this teleapp amp speaker, I'm just going to copy this. Parentheses, quotation mark, teleapp amp speaker, hit enter. Now we actually have this input over here. It's very useful. And if you can click reveal element panel, you can view it. And actually, we can even take a look at our code here. Let input. And now we can view input element dot value, for example. This is actually this is something that is unique. It's a built-in property of input elements. So if we want to just manually set anything equals 5, for example, there we go. Put a value equals 1 million. Boom. We can modify it programmatically. So let's do that here. Input element equals document.get element by ID. But wait a second. How do I get the ID? Anybody with some programming experience want to answer the general way that we can actually get this ID? I'll show you the exact syntax later, but or is everybody here relatively new to programming?
Relatively new.
Okay.
You just parse it through the function, like having an ID. Oh, have the ID in there. Sorry, I don't know how to phrase it.
Yeah. The answer I'm looking for is to add the ID as a parameter to the function. Is that what you meant to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to add the ID to as a parameter. So inside of here, function handle plus click, say item ID, for example. And then I was about to add TypeScript sugar, but I forgot this is JavaScript. Anyways, item ID. So now it takes this parameter. And then here, item ID. Make sure it's not in quotes. In this case, we are passing a variable name to this, and so if we put this in quotes, then it's going to get element by ID with the name item ID. So we don't want that. We want it to pass this variable name. And here is going to be something that looks really messy, but just do what I say. So let's change these quotation marks to backticks. That's the thing that's to the left of the 1 key on your keyboard. So change both of these to backticks. And this is creating something called a template string. Inside of these parentheses, now put a $sign and then curly braces. This is very similar to this guy up here, but it's a $sign instead. So does everybody see? It should stay like brownish orange, but inside of this $sign or this $sign curly braces should be blue. Does everybody see that? Take that as a yes. Or was that a no?
No, not my end.
Okay.
I'm trying to get the $sign to work, but it's not letting me do that functionality.
What do you mean by getting it to work?
It's not showing up as blue.
Okay, is it $sign and then you have curly
Oh, wait,
braces?
I think I did it wrong. It was the curly brackets. My bad.
Gotcha. Yeah, no problem. And now inside of here, we are going to pass the item ID very similar to how we've done before. Item.id. Now, I purposefully missed something, and we're going to take a look and see why. Or you know what? Never mind. I'll just show you exactly how to do it. So inside of here, we're also going to add quotation marks inside of the parentheses. It can be either single tick or double tick, doesn't matter. Inside of the parentheses, but like outside of the dollar and the curly braces. So this is the weird syntactic mess. But if we refresh and if we actually inspect element here, we can see this results in handle plus click parentheses quotation mark teleop speaker. And this is basically the JavaScript code that we want. Has everybody followed? I know it's a bit of a mess, but this is, funnily enough, the cleaner way of doing it. Has anybody not gotten here? Or has everybody gotten this guy here? I'll take that as everybody got it. No?
I think. I don't know.
Okay. That's all right. Well, let's proceed.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So we have let element, input element. So if we click this, theoretically there should not be an error, but it's not going to actually do anything because we're just grabbing the input element. So on a new line, let's just increment the value. So input element dot value equals input element dot value plus 1. You could do other ways. You could do, input element dot value plus plus. There's other ways of doing it, but let's just do it that way. Let's get rid of the hello world. And now what do we see? Hit refresh. Go up. 1, 1. Wait a second. What's going on? We just discovered JavaScript being really weird. If you try to add a number to a string, like string quotation mark 1 plus 1, we get 11. JavaScript is weird when we're not explicit with things. It's also, interestingly, if you do -1, it actually converts into a number. So this is just, this is a byproduct of JavaScript being loosely typed, and that the plus operator is the same between numerical operations and string concatenation. There's a lot of different ways of doing it. One of the ways is just take input element.value, wrap it in parentheses, and add number with a capital N. What this does is it takes the value, which is actually stored as a string, converts it to a number, and then adds 1 to it. So if we change this, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The other way of doing it would be a value subtract a -1. You could do that if you really want to, but I think converting it to a number first and then adding 1 makes a little bit more sense than subtracting -1. is everybody following this? Did I like the tangent about string conversion isn't strictly necessary, but it's important to know JavaScript's quirks. But is everybody getting this so far? Or does anybody have any questions?
I have several questions, but well, not really questions, but more like kind of getting it, but not really. I'm not going to hold anyone up, but I'm moving at my pace.
Okay, that's fair. What about everybody else? Michael, Lucian, Tenmei?
I gotta go. Thank you for the lesson so far, though.
No, happy to help. And yeah, thank you for coming very much. Probably won't go too long. I'll keep the recording, and I'll include the questions in the recording, and we'll post it. And yeah, gonna hope to make this weekly or bi-weekly, and looking forward to seeing you in future lessons if you're down.
Definitely into it for bi-weekly or whatever. That would be awesome.
Great.
I'll
Thanks so
definitely
much.
try to show up when I can.
Thursdays are excellent.
Yeah, I'll definitely try to show up when I can. Thank you.
Great. Have a great night. What about Michael and Tanmei? How long can you guys keep going for? Or do you also have to get going soon?
I can go for however long it takes.
Sorry, who said they can go? I'm not sure if two people spoke at the same time.
Oh, sorry. I can go for however long.
Cool. And then Tanmei?
I think I'll hang around for another couple of minutes.
Okay, sure. So before you go, let's add the minus click. Now, question from the class. How do we do it? You guys tell me what to write. How about Michael? Or Mr. D?
I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Okay.
Pretty much just the same thing, but subtract one. Just copy and paste.
Yeah, let's try that. Copy and paste. Copy this, paste. Now what do we change?
Rename plus to minus, and then subtract one instead of add.
Very good. And then what do we do here? What do we do next to the button?
Just copy the thing from the plus, but then change the plus to a minus.
Beautiful. You have concluded us with one of the most useful things in programming, copying and pasting stuff. Very nice. Let's hit refresh, and it should all work. -1, -2, -3, +1, 2, 3. Here we go. And now we have our counter. And if we really want to start it at 0 to make it view 0, because we kind of encountered JavaScript's thing where if we have an empty string, which is what it starts with, you convert that to a number of an empty string, and it converts into 0. So if we want to be a bit more explicit, we can just start with a 0 here. Input equals ID, value equals 0. Now if we refresh, we start at 0. Yeah. So this seems like, so we already had a couple of people leave. I think this is a good wrapping up point.